said, because what life is God. And she said, what do you mean? I said, it's an understatement, but life is God, and you have life in you. You have a piece of God in you. So do I. So do he. So does she. And that you cannot destroy. You can disrupt this biological journey with alcohol, drugs, jumping off a cliff, but that life in you must return because it is God. It's a piece of God. That's what God is. God is life itself. And I said, so all I can say is if you disrupt this journey, the real you will return to the source, which is part of. And I said it's up to that source what it will do with you thereafter, whether it will send you back somewhere else or to this or that. I said, I don't know. I said, but you can't kill yourself. And I said, what about a world that whatever you want to be can happen? She said, I could settle for that. Then I said, well, as a man thinketh, so is he. Change the way you think. Change what you believe, and you'll find a world right here that you love to be in. Because that's what God put it to me. When I was complaining one day, I said, God, I'm tired of this. I didn't want to die. I just don't like living here where a place where people are so cruel over a piece of paper. Anyway, I can talk all day. Questions?
Questions. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
You were right.
Well, I'm so glad I came today, and as an educator, I wish I had you to speak to my students, even though I was aware of Paul Robeson because I am an historian as well. But I guess the human aspect of listening to you, even though I know the historic part, these things I never would have heard had I not wandered the pure theater today. So we all have crises in our lives, and you never know how much you have helped by listening to another perspective from an historical figure. The human element side would not have gotten. And as you're sitting in your bedroom listening to classical music, and in 2014, how you have turned that around. And as a teacher and as an educator, I had a job to write the Black history and put it into books. And I'm still, even though I'm retired, I don't look through the books, but nothing about Paul Robeson, even though nothing about many of these areas. And I was putting out and I'll be quick about this and stop, found an article the other day, and I was talking to some of my friends, and it says, like discrimination causes high blood pressure, and people were arguing with me about that. But it's just so many things, and I've known Phil a long time, Les Austin here, so appreciate all of the things you do, but I wish more people were here to hear another perspective of life from an interesting point of view. In addition to being a baritone, you certainly have ministerial qualities as well. Thank you.
He is a preacher. He just doesn't have a church.
Any
other questions?
I just wondered what was one of the most memorable comments you received from an audience member after their opportunity to view the performance.
There were many, and I find them so equally. But I'll recall the first one that popped in my head. I was at your house. I don't know if the gentleman is here, and he walked up to me and he says, "You touched this old man." And I looked at him. I looked in his eyes. The sincerity in his eyes reminded me why I should continue at all costs to do what I do. And I see a man sitting right there who also said, it's just to know that one of my favorite songs I heard Mahalia sing. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can show love's message through a word of song, if I can show someone that he's been traveling long, then my living is not in vain. And so when I hear all these comments, I go, grab a beer. Yeah, all right. If I have a heart attack tonight, I'll be easy. But someone said to me, it must be a joy to impart a sincerity and to move people in the right direction. I said, I never thought I would have an honor to do so. And I tell you, when I'm up there singing, I have no idea what you're feeling. It's like a bird, I can spread my wings and I'm gone. And sometime on the stage, I drop a line because I come back to reality. I go, oh, there's people here, I'm performing. But someone said to me in LA, she said, you just love to sing, don't you? You just love to sing. She was not being very nice. And I looked at her and said, well, that is like asking a bird to see him fly, an eagle. You just love to fly. You just love. I said, he's given wings. That is what he does. And I said, singing is what I do. It was my wings. It is in me to do it. I said, in fact, I'd rather sing to trees at times rather than humans because they have nothing to say but to listen and let me spill my song. And I said to her, you've yet to hear me sing when I've reached a place in my mind when you're not there. But it's just me and the source, and I'm spreading my wings. I said, that's what I'm doing. I do it through song, I do it through expression. So one day I'm going to really fly, brother.
Steve?
What was the response to Robeson in Charleston? He was actually here for the Henry Wallace campaign.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I believe this man can answer best, but from my word from them is that there was a rock through the window.
Yeah.
There was a man shot dead in the street, and there was a man followed by the FBI. I think that was the response to Robeson. That was the response in many places, and that was a response by the few because they knew he had the ability to wake people up to see, and that's why the rock was thrown. That's why the man was shot to stop the message of truth, of peace. So,
Part of one of the things that has sort of come across to me is that in 1948, when the Dixiecrats broke away, the progressives, as embodied by Henry Wallace, basically reacted to that and said, we need to form an opposition on the other side to the strong Thurmans and the far and the racist right. And after the election, the states' rights and the concentrated in about 5 states and the progressives all over the country got about the same number of votes. And in retrospect, as Robeson says, we achieved what we wanted to do. They were trying to establish an alternative voice to Thurman and the far right. And in some ways, that's why I think he came to Charleston and came to South Carolina, because that was sort of going into the belly of the beast. And in terms of the specifics of what he did here, it wasn't that different from what he did anywhere else. He wanted to perform at County Hall, and they drug it on and on and on and never let him. And so he had his performance / speech was at Morris Street Baptist, and very much like KB's performance, it was a combination of singing and lecture, and they took up a collection beforehand. They charged folks 25 cents to come, and then they took up another collection afterwards. But it was, and he specifically talked a little bit about the Dixiecrats. There are some references to it, but it wasn't. It was as much as sort of a symbolic, I think, coming to the belly of the beast as it was anything else. Do you know what?
Yeah, no, but he was, a swing through the South. He did Savannah, he did Florida, and he was going by train, and he was hitting all the southern cities.
Yeah, and W.E.B. Dubois was with him. There was a Southern Negro Youth Conference, I think it was called, in Columbia, that was shortly before Charleston. So I mean, it was a deliberate response to come to Charleston as opposed to just pass through on the tour.
Forgive me, I have to go to a meeting, and I don't want to leave. This is when I wish I could clone myself. All of me here and go there. This is wonderful, inspiring to me. I'm going to take a lot back to my show from all this.
Now, before you go, I'd like to say something to you, because you talk about Paul Robeson, who, when you talk about it, somehow you don't feel that he made the choice to speak up. It wasn't because he didn't realize he was going to be punished for it. He knew he was going to be punished. So it gets to me because he made that choice. He could have been, Uncle Tom kept his mouth shut and made a lot of money.
Yes.
But because he was on top of the world, they didn't want this man to speak to us. They didn't want him, of all people. You don't have no reason to be complaining. You don't have no reason to talk about the injustices. So why are you? So it was from his heart that he made that choice. The system, the racists in this country, took away his passport, took away his livelihood, so he could not even travel. The same thing happened to Muhammad Ali. So we got times, the history has repeated itself in this country. Marshall Baptist was my grandmother's church, raised up there until I was 12. So we had Jackie Robinson. We brought a lot of blacks to Charleston to speak at the church. Most time it was just like that. We hear them speak in and take up a collection to support their next move. But the point that I wanted to emphasize was that he was punished, racially punished for speaking up and speaking up against the injustices.
Yes.
Later on, they ran that communist thing on him. They did the same thing to Dr. King. When we was in Tennessee with Dr. King, they called Dr. King a communist because he was in hiding.
Have you been to my show yet?
No.
I knew he wasn't here last night.
Well, anyways.
Let me
Quick
just say
before you
that.
go, I just have to say this. I would like to ask all of you to take a skip, a hop, responsibility, and I share it with you, to have this kind of performance, wherever you go, for a group of black kids.
Yes.
We've got to do that. I don't care if you lose money. There's a 100 black men. There's a sorority, and Sheldon and all the rest of that kind of. There's Moore Street Baptist. That has to become an integral part of the opportunities that we're having, and we already have committed, at least before the show. We the rest of them completely committed after. But I really would like to encourage that to happen.
Well, I would say to you, I thank you for the encouragement, and I'm with you more than 100%. Actually, coming from growing up in the projects and not knowing what my people did, I understand you wholeheartedly. In fact, that is the reason I do this show. And I'll say this briefly. My show was offered to be taken to Broadway 6 years ago by CAA, the founder, Sidney Poitier's first and only agent, came to the show. And I said, I'll think about it. I've been thinking about it ever since, simply because they wanted to rewrite it, make it a comedy, and that it would become quickly unavailable unless you had a lot of money. And I said that this story has such great qualities for all of us. I want to do it in Broadway. I want to take it back to the opera, but I want to take it back to the schoolhouse, the clubhouse. This is what Paul said. And for you, brother, I would say if you come to my show, one of the favorite lines as an artist must elect to fight for freedom or for slavery. And as Paul said, I have made my choice. I had no alternative. And he made a choice, as you said, and I make a choice, and we all make choices. And I hope it's because you want to make a difference, as Paul did, as we all should do. And bless all of you. And
let me do this. I got to walk him to the door, but we'll be here if y'all want to continue talking a few minutes about some of the stuff.
And I just want to say thank you, because this is not staged for me. This is straight Vimeo and YouTube before the night is done. The Twitter and Instagram as we're here now, because the baby's on here. And I couldn't afford the ticket, but I got to the free stuff.
Give me 90 seconds if we're continuing.
nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. Oh, no. You don't get to run that quick, Dr. Dyer.